Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has obviously been, a topic that we've all been really interested in and focused on. But of late, inflation and some interest rate increases and potential recession have, for some people, taken their mind off of what's going on in Ukraine. And so I wanted to check back in with someone who I interviewed a couple of months ago. Her name is Anastasia Matvieieva. She is formerly in Kharkiv. She's currently in Western Ukraine. She's a PhD. She's an associate professor of the law department of the Kharkiv Aviation Institute. And she is going to chat tonight with us a little bit about what's going on and what it's like living in Ukraine and what she thinks the West needs to do. Anastasia, I know I mispronounced your last name. I apologize. But how are you?
I'm normal. I can't to say that I'm fine because it is a very hard month. August is a very hard beginnings in our country. Unfortunately for me and for our country today, the situation is quite difficult in two cities that are native to me. Mykolaiv on the south of Ukraine, near Odessa, near Crimea, and near Kherson region, and sure Kharkiv. They are bombarded every day and every night, day after day, and we can see, and you can see, it's the situation in the app. We have, all of us have a special app when we know which region are bombed right now, and so on and so on. Unfortunately, again, my parents, younger sister and brother are in Mykolaiv now, and it is a difficult situation because our army tried to take Kherson region and Crimea, Ukrainian, again, not formally, but in fact. And what about Kharkiv? I spent most of my life in Kharkiv. Many of my friends, colleagues, sure, because of Kharkiv Aviation Institute is situated in Kharkiv, and right now too, and all of them, not all of them, but most part of them stayed there, and my neighbors sit there in horror, and many people, including children, have already died there. For example, last awful example, it was 13 years old boy. He was a son of my son's chess court, first court, and it was really awful situation. And sure, we don't know how to help the family, because their older daughter in the hospital in a terrible situation, and sure, it's two children just walk near house, and one of them has already died, and we don't know how to what we have to do in the situation. You asked me about why I did not leave Ukraine. I left Ukraine a few months ago, not for a long time, just for relax. And
where did you go?
In Montenegro and in Austria. in Wien. I have to choose this transportation because of we have no flights, and it is very hard to understand which way we can choose.
Well, I'm not surprised that you
And,
left. I'm frankly surprised you came back. Why did you come back to Ukraine?
because I don't know what I have to do in, for example, Austria, for example, Montenegro. I can compare another countries. Sure, I was not in USA, but I was in some countries in Europe. I was in Montenegro twice, this year and last year, and it is good countries. Yes, really good countries, good travel. Good people, but it is not for me.
And where are you now? You're in Western Ukraine now?
Yes, now I am in West in Ukraine because of my child and his friends in psychological renovation in special
School?
I forgot no, not school. Oh, in special camp, sure. In special camp for children who are Ukrainian actually, who are from regions like Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, who are from Mariupol, Kherson, and a region in region where there are a lot of I don't know, war, dying, and so on. And they
Really, that's fascinating. So what you're telling us is that that Ukraine has established some camps, some special camps for Ukrainian children for the areas that are ravaged by war in Western Ukraine, so that the kids can still enjoy a summer camp experience, albeit not where they live, but in a safer Western Ukrainian location.
Yes, it is. It was a cool, and it is a cool idea because children are not okay. They are like usual children, but they are not okay. They scared.
I can imagine. How old is your son?
10 years old.
And is his father in the military?
His father is not in the military, but are divorced, and his father helps IT army.
The IT army. Fascinating. We're chatting tonight with Anastasia. She is in Western Ukraine. She's from Kharkiv and also originally from a city down near Crimea. Both of the cities are under attack currently by Russian forces. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back more with Anastasia in just 2 minutes with an update of what's going on in the Ukraine, what she thinks about the political situation, the military situation, the West and what we should be doing, and what it's like to actually just live as part of a country under attack, which is something that, you know, none of us have dreamt would exist again, probably since World War II. And so it's a fascinating, scary, shocking situation. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. The topic tonight is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Our guest is Anastasia Matvieieva. Is that correct?
Matvieieva.
Matvieieva. And she is a very fascinating young lady. She's got a PhD. She is an assistant professor in the Kharkiv University of Aviation. And she's currently in Western Ukraine. And she's from Kharkiv. Her family is from the south near Crimea, and she's giving us update on what's going on in Ukraine. So, Anastasia, tell us a little bit about Kharkiv, if you could, and what's happening. So, I know you worked there in university. I understand Kharkiv is like only 20 kilometers or something like that from the Russian border. So it's terrible, obviously, what's happening in Kharkiv, but isn't it a great example of the resilience of the Ukrainian forces that Russia still hasn't been able to take it?
Because Kharkiv is for Kharkiv people, not for Russians. And unfortunately, Russians can't understand it. Kharkiv is a strong city. Kharkiv is a city not for all people, because very hard to live in Kharkiv if you can't understand I don't know, his character, his people, and so on. And army in Kharkiv is the best parts of army of our army. Maybe I can tell some words about humanitarian aids. And today the vector of humanitarian aids we provide has changed. We try to help those who are on their front lines, military, first of all, medical workers, rescue services, and so on. Of course, we try to help how we can help. Food, psychology support, try to understand what our army needs, some parts, and for example, drones and so on. Our partners from Norway,
Yep.
sent twice, can't say how much, some drones. I can say some drones for Kharkiv.
Yep.
And for our army, and of course we connect with very different volunteers organizations, and we try to help.
And who is we? We as people formerly from Kharkiv, or
yes,
we?
Yes.
Yeah. And
from Kharkiv, sure, we can help and we do it.
Give me a sense, how big was the population of Kharkiv before the war?
With students, something like 2-3 millions in town, not region, in town, in our town.
And I understand it was one of the more industrialized cities in Ukraine, was it not?
More industrial, more scientific cities, and the law capital of our country. Some scientists say about Kharkiv because of very popular universities, for example, National Law Academy, National University, and some departments, for example, my, and in another university. And sure, we have to understand that Russians try day after day to take our town, but according to my information, it is impossible now. What we can see in future, I don't know, but I understand that it is a pity, but I understand that Happy New Year, it will be not in Kharkiv. And 2023, yes.
You know, we see pictures of mass destruction of Kharkiv. Are there any residents left? Are any of your friends still actually living still in Kharkiv?
Yes.
How could you live in Kharkiv? How could you still live there?
In shelters, in bomb shelters, and they help in Kharkiv, our army, and another people, for example, very old people, and adults who understand it.
People
And
that had no choice, couldn't leave, didn't have the
yes.
wherewithal to leave.
Yes, and some of them support medical centers and hospitals, of course. For example, I don't know, cooking. For example, cooking,
So-
preparing food.
If the population was 1.5 to 2 million people before the war, any idea how many people are left in Kharkiv today?
I hope 50% left Kharkiv.
But that's still, and 750,000 to 1 million people still left in Kharkiv.
Some
with all the destruction.
Yes. Some people still left Kharkiv. Some people stayed in Kharkiv, and some people come back in Kharkiv.
They came back. So they left,
Yes.
but they came back.
Yes, came back and come back again and again, because it is very hard to live in another part of our country, and of course in another countries, because it is our home, and it is our, I don't know how, I know how to say, it is our small university, and it is not about our, I don't know, TV, our flats or houses, not. It is about our university, and so many time live in another house, in another place. It is hard.
It's not the same. I can well imagine. So tell me, if you could, why you think the Russians haven't been able to take Kharkiv? Like, what is it? It's only 20 kilometers away from the Russian border. And I understand what you say, that Kharkiv is for Kharkivi, the people of Kharkiv, but still, this big, huge Russian army is only 20 kilometers away, and they've bombarded Kharkiv, incessantly for the last, 4 months. What's happened? What is the?
Because they are weak and we are strong, and that's all. They have no any idea what they do. We support our town. It is like a child, our common child, and we do not everything, under everything we can do or we want to do, and I don't know, it's a character of our people, and we have some we have some order. Stay there for our army. First of all, for our army, stay there, and our army can't leave our town, because it is a strategic object. If you strategic town and strategic region for in this war, actually. Something like Mykolaiv, because if I don't want to say it, but if our army leave Mykolaiv, we have to forget about Odessa, Vinnytsia, Chernivtsi, and some West Ukraine. And
really? So
like
you think?
foremost.
So you think Mykolaiv? Is it Mykolaiv or Nikolai?
Mykolaiv in Ukrainian, Nikolaev in Russian. Mykolaiv region.
Tell us a little bit about Mykolaiv. So this is in the southeast of Ukraine, close to
in the south of Ukraine.
Close to Odessa, close to Crimea.
Between Odessa and Kherson, Mykolaiv, Kherson, and Crimea. And from people, Crimea, they bombed our town, our Mykolaiv. Yes.
And some people are saying, as you've just said, that it's the key city that stops Russia from having a land bridge all the way to Crimea and then potentially all the way to Moldova. Is that correct?
Yes, you are right. Sure. It is a south line of our army. It is south hope of our Ukraine, because now the situation is very hard, because our army tried to take Kherson, and 47 villages, something like this, was returned. Were returned to our country on the 1st of August, and it is a big victory for our south part of our army, and sure that Russians tried to do something that stopped our army, and they tried bombed Kharkiv, and for now Mykolaiv is closed for not for walking, for
What's the population before the war of Mykolaiv, if you could
for
tell me?
departure and arrive. Mykolaiv are closed for 2 days. It happened today,
Right.
and until Monday's morning, the town will be closed.
What's the population of Mykolaiv before the war? Any idea?
Now population 472 people.
Is that before the war or now?
Before the war.
Before the war.
I don't understand why, but people who left Mykolaiv, not a big part, not like in Kharkiv. I don't understand why, actually.
So what? They're still there?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes. Working, for example, sister working, my brother work there, and another people I can't understand, and but it is.
I have to tell you that the resilience of the Ukrainian people, I think, has impressed everyone around the world. It's unbelievable what your country has put up with, and that your people have supported the military, joined the military, supported the military, supported the defense forces, stayed in the country, kept the economy going. It is just, it's just incredible. And even those that have been refugees, what they've done to survive and support their families and support Ukraine still is amazing. And you know, these are movies that we've seen about World War II, and now we're seeing it again on the nightly news, and it's amazing. It's astounding. It's shocking that this is happening. The destruction of the cities is mind-boggling, and that millions of people can still live in that kind of a situation. And I've been told, Anastasia, that over 90% of Kharkiv and Mykolaiv and places like that are Russian speaking. Is that correct?
Yes. It is not about our speech. It is not about languages. It's about our culture, and we are people. They are not people. It is not correct for Facebook, for example, but it is true. We understand that this is our country. We can see today, I am professor in international, and I say it, we can see weak international organizations which can't do anything. And we understand that it is our business to protect our country. We can't say, help, United Nations, help us. United Nations did not some steps they I can say it they can do, but and they must do, but they did not eat. For example, Olenivka, for example, Azovstal, for example, Mariupol, for example, women which are medical workers, which are not combatants, but they now in Russian territory, in Russian, I don't know, camps, awful camps, and some of them are pregnant, and these monsters in international law, we think so, can't do anything, like child, can't do anything. And we understand that we do it, what we can for now. And of course, our people stay in our cities because we try to protect not only the city at whole, but our people too. Because about medical protection from international organization, it's impossible now. And their functions, we have to review, because they are diet organization as for me, and they like I don't know, like many, maybe like hosts, and because it is not organizations, you have to do something, and I understand what you have to do, but.
And you don't think they're doing nearly enough, if anything?
Sure, Red Cross, for example, International Committee of Red Cross, you must guarantee lives and health of combatants, but you can't. You just I don't know, say that you are supporting, not say you have to do something because of your functions. If you can't, you can see, I don't know what I have to see, and we have to create another organization which will be effectiveness, not like this. And Amnesty International, it's awful. But I don't know. Our ministry said about it. It is not international amnesty. It is not an organization. It is pro-Russians parts, and that's all. Because I can't believe it, and I don't understand what I have to say for my students about international organization. I have to close the topic about international organization. And
well, and you know what you're talking about because you're an associate professor of the law department of the Kharkiv Aviation Institute. So you know of what you speak. We're chatting tonight with Anastasia Matvieieva. She, as I mentioned, is a PhD. She's associate professor of the law department of the Kharkiv Aviation Institute. She's a former resident of Kharkiv. She's currently in Western Ukraine with her son that's attending a camp. And we're talking to her about what it's like to live in a country under siege. Ukraine is being attacked, invaded by the Russian army. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back more with Anastasia and an update on what's going on in Ukraine in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody.
Sure.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're having really quite a frank conversation about the horrors of war, but also the inability, the ineffectiveness of some international organizations to help in this war with Anastasia Matvieieva, who is a PhD, associate professor of the law department of the Kharkiv Aviation Institute. She's formerly a resident of Kharkiv. She's left Kharkiv and is currently in Western Ukraine, where her son is attending a special camp for kids that come from the war-torn regions of Ukraine. Anastasia, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you could. So you've got a PhD. The PhD was in the laws of transport or something like this?
Yes, my dissertation was about transport corridors or land bridge, how in some countries it tells. And I studied international transport law and economic law in my institute. It is difficult when we are working, and for example, I'm working in online regime because we like to speak with our students, to tell something, to ask something special, non-formal, how they understand in some problems, and of course discussion. It's in a different ways because I like when a student can understand the problem and can argue why he or she think that way, for example.
And how are you teaching now? Are you teaching online, or you're not in classrooms, I would presume?
Yes, we are teaching online, like we speak now in a Zoom conference.
And where are the students? Are the students all scattered around Ukraine or even international?
Some students in Kharkiv region, some students in another countries, and some students in another regions, but in our country.
But still taking classes in the law university.
Yes, yes.
Unbelievable. And you have been a professor for 3 years. What do you teach?
International law, transport law, and economic law.
And economic law. And you spent 9 years doing Scientific and Research Institute for providing legal framework for innovative development. That sounds fascinating.
Yes, yes, it was a cool experience, and I was only just a scientist, and we prepare a text of our laws. For example, innovative code, project of innovative code. It was a great experience as for me as a lecturer now, and it was a big part of my working life. But now I'm only a lecturer in my law department in Kharkiv Innovation Institute, and it is a good experience too, because we have a lot of smart students, and it is interesting not only for students but for me too, because they sometimes they have very difficult questions, and I have to take a break to understand how I have to answer, and but I am a democratic lecturer, and I say that and say now that they can have another opinion than I am, but they have to argue. Sure, they have to argue because they are future lawyers, and it is impossible without argues in profession. For example, I don't know, judges, prosecutors office, and so on, so on.
You went to law school in a place that I haven't heard of before, called Yaroslav. Where's that?
Yaroslav Modri National Law University is a famous one of the famous law university in our country. It is a big law school from, I don't know, from 15th of 20th century and up to these days, and I had and now I have a good teachers for me who teach me. And
where is it located?
I didn't see.
What city is it located in? What city?
Something.
Where is it?
Where? In
Yes.
Kharkiv too.
In Kharkiv too. And
Yes.
and I understand you got a 4.9 grade average.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Yes, I think so.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So we were talking about some international organizations, and you specialize in international law. And you talked about the Red Cross, and you talked about Amnesty International, and you talked about the United Nations. You know, several commentators have said the problem is that after World War II, what the Western world did is it gave Russia, the USSR, actually it was the USSR at the time. It wasn't Russia. It was the USSR, a veto, a position on the Security Council, a position of prominence in a lot of these organizations. Number one, that should be with the USSR, not Russia. And so therefore Russia shouldn't have those positions today. They were for the USSR, and the USSR no longer exists. And number two, those structures don't work when a member of the Security Council is the member that is actually the one that is doing wrong. It only works when that whole structure only works when the Security Council all are abiding by the United Nations rules. So as a law professor that specializes in international law, what do you think we need to do to make these institutions actually work when Russia is the perpetrator of this war?
We have two ways. First one, create a new international organization in the sphere, but it can be the two same organization, and it will not be good for us. And the second one, we can change this organization. How it can be? They have to make reports about their activities during, for example, during Russian-Ukrainian war. Various functions, various activities, and reports. And members of the organization can say, is report correct or not? Activity of the organization is good or not good? And then we have to create some steps to, renovate the organization. Some organization, I think that it will be right to cancel them, because we can't renovate something. Some organization we have to renovate.
Are you saying some organizations we need to cancel? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Cancel.
Closed.
Close
They cancel us, our society, we cancel it. Of course, it was like a joke. We can close because, for example, League of Nations, which was created after the First World War, World War, and it was not a good international organization for the Second World War, and League of Nations was changed in the United Nations, and United Nations was a great organization, but we have to remind that United Nations was created after the Second World War. And why? The first function is to protect. But we forgot why United Nations was created. We forgot what is the functions of United Nations. It was just an international organization, a big international organization, and universally international organization, but we do not see deals. We have to see active steps, not something like woman, oh my God, it was wrong, war in Ukraine, not like this. Some steps.
So NATO has taken some fairly forceful steps. Do you not think NATO has done what it needs to do?
I don't know, but first of all, the international organization, for example, United Nations, have to include in their statute some article about how to exclude the state that are an aggressor, and USA did and doing now steps to say that yes, Russia is an aggressor, and it is a very important step for our followers. We understand that what will be another step. Another country have to say that yes, Russia is an aggressor state, and it is not okay when in an international organization, for example, in United Union, some decisions makes by Russia. It is not okay. And when Russia have a right of veto, it is not okay. It can't be in words, in a modern word. And we have to, maybe we have to divide our nations on civilized nations and on, I don't know, it is not a nation in a social, in a law meaning, and so on. It's
an uncivilized nation.
It is not nation. It is like actually it is a tribe. You know, it is not a nation. Nation have some democratic, some higher civilized understanding how to our society, our international society, our own, for example, Ukrainian society have to work. They don't. Actually, they don't. They are not people who don't understand something. Who support war in Ukraine? Russia. Russia make war, not we are. You asked me about the language. In our country, we can speak English, we can speak German, we can speak Russian, Ukrainian, Austrian, I don't know, Spanish, Italian. What do you like? You can speak. It is not a problem. It's a Russian, some Russian information, information which can divide our society. but I said, and will say every day that it is not about language. We can speak what we like. I can speak in the west of Ukraine, Russian, okay, Ukrainian, you are welcome. And they can speak in Kharkiv from the west, people from the west who mostly speak in Ukrainian, they can speak in Ukrainian on Kharkiv. No problem. We are people who smart actually, who knows 1, 2, 3 languages at least. 3 languages at least. They know Russian, and it is not correct. So someone, not someone, most of them. I mean Russians.
Yeah. We're chatting tonight with Anastasia Matvieieva, who is a associate professor in the law department of the Kharkiv Aviation Institute, about living in Russia. Sorry, living in Ukraine, but living under Russian invasion. We're going to take a break for 2 minutes and come back with some concluding comments. I'm going to ask Anastasia what she wants the West to do now, and I'm going to ask her what she thinks is going to happen. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be back in just 2 minutes.
Okay. I don't know what happens.
You got to let me welcome you back, everybody, to the Brian-Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Our guest is Anastasia Matvieieva, who is an associate professor in the law department in the Kharkiv Aviation Institute. She's got a PhD. She's a lawyer in transportation, in international affairs, and in economics. Anastasia, you've been very frank and honest with us tonight. Thank you for that. I want to ask you what you think the West, NATO, the European Commission needs to do right now.
I don't know. They know what they have to do, and of course now all European Union understands that our country not only will win, we won right now because we all universally can see that we are the nation, and with civilized principles, and we protect rights and freedoms of our people, and of course we think that we will be the part, the important part of European Union, and of course we think that, especially I think that our country will be the most useful part of NATO, because our army are stronger than NATO. In which meaning? Not at all, because we have an unique experience now.
You sure do.
And yes,
you sure do have a unique experience, no question.
Yes, we now have an unique experience in this war, because NATO is not in war. We understand we on the one hand and Russia in the other hand, but of course we see how Ukrainian people support. I saw support of Wien because of our flag in the center of Wien, in the churches. I see it by my eyes.
In Vienna, in Austria.
Yes. And
so tell me,
another country, of course.
So tell me, Anastasia, what do you think is actually going to happen? Is Ukraine going to be able to win this war and throw Russia out of Ukraine?
Yes, I think Ukraine wins the war because we have no any other chance to be free. we are not a nation who will be a part of Russia, who will be who will be slaves. Our people are not slaves, and our people can be died, but not slaves. And of course, I think that we forgot. We proved that we are civilized nation and we are European nation. We are not tribe, and we can be good, useful, and democratic part of European Union, and useful and effectiveness international organization. Not all, but some of important organizations, and I think it will be okay, and we hope and we do everything that that our victory will be earlier than we can imagine.
Well, I look forward to your victory and hopefully coming to Ukraine and visiting you at some point in time in the future and seeing you lecture in front of your class back in Kharkiv. Thank you so much for joining us.
I invite you.
That's very kind of you.
It will be cool.
We've been chatting tonight with Anastasia Matvieieva, who is a PhD person, an associate professor of the law department of Kharkiv Aviation Institute. I think this has been a really interesting conversation. What Anastasia has told us is obviously the resilience of the Ukrainian people, both in Kharkiv, which is only 20 kilometers from the Russian border, and still hasn't been taken over by Russia as of yet. And similarly, some of the cities on the southern border, the southern side of Ukraine, that she says most of the people haven't left and are still there defending their city. She's described the ineffective ability of some international organizations to really contribute to Ukraine because of Russian involvement in the Security Council and Amnesty International and the Red Cross, etc., and that we really have a failure of some of our international organizations that we need to address. And she's spoken about her hope, her belief that Ukraine will prevail and will win this war and will throw Russia out of Ukraine, and has invited us to come visit her, at least me, to come visit her in Ukraine in the future. Anastasia, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. All the best. Stay safe. And please check in again with us in the future.
Sure, thank you very much, and many thanks for support for civilized nations and civilized countries, democratic, for example, USA, our good friend, for example, for England, and we like the countries who understand what happened now.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I remind you, I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online, even from Kharkiv, Ukraine, or Western Ukraine at www.saga960am.ca. Good night, everybody.